Okay, so you decided to make the move to Orlando. Well, in this video, I'm going to cover the top steps you need to take when making the move to Orlando. And stay to the end, I'm going to give you my number one step that you need to do, or else you could ruin the whole move to Orlando. Let's go. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hodge. On this channel, we talk about everything about moving and living here in Orlando, Florida. And while I absolutely love putting out every videos Tuesdays and Thursdays, what I love even more being a licensed agent here in Florida is helping you with your real estate decisions when moving to Orlando, Florida. And this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. You know, I'm the one that answers the phone, so I am here to help you when making that move to Orlando, Florida. All right. Now, getting straight into the video. In this video, I wanted to cover some of the top steps you need to make when moving to Orlando, and some of these that I actually didn't do exactly, and I really wish I would have when I made that move out here, because I feel it definitely caused some pain when moving out here. I think it's a good step, more like a guideline when it comes to making that move out here, so that way you know you're doing the right thing to make sure everything is lining up as it should. So, step one, call me. And it sounds ridiculous and it sounds annoying, but the actuality behind it is like reaching out to like someone like me that's a professional who understands relocation. I've done it so many times, whether in the military. I did it when our family moved to Orlando, and it's something I definitely love helping in. And just because, like, you know, not every professional is the same. Like, everyone has their niche in their area where they fall into. For me, it's one of them is relocation. Like, I absolutely love it because it's stressful, but done the right way, it really is, you know, because everyone's moving for a higher purpose. So reaching out to me, I can help be your guide when it comes to moving to Orlando, help you pick the right area, help you put your boots on the ground, and maybe even giving you some insight with some tips and things that I did wrong that I, you know, give you insights so that way you can make the right decision for you and your family. All right, step two, and that is find your budget. So there's a lot of things that play into this, like obviously your debt, your income, and, you know, like I always tell everyone, like everyone loves to judge and assume, like, oh, I assume this is what I can afford, but it's like you never really know, and unless you're paying all cash, like you're not going to know what your budget is. So it's really important that you reach out to like me, and when I set up a 3-way Zoom call with my lender, we sit down, we run some numbers, I give you an idea of what areas you're looking at, what those home prices look like in those cities and neighborhoods, and then we sit down, we go through your debt, your income, like what your job's looking like when you move out here. Literally, it's the whole gamut of things and questions to make sure that we have a good idea of what you're going into, so that way you know what your budget is, what your max budget is, but not just what your max budget is, what you personally can afford. Because no one over here is trying to max out their budget. Like, we all are moving, you're relocating for a reason. Whether that's job, whether that's just to find a better life for you and your family, like we did when we moved out here. It's so important to make sure you get your budget, you know, like I said, the budget of what you can afford, and then figure out where that line between what you can afford is and what you want to afford. Because just because you're maxed out, like say like 400, maybe 500,000, like it doesn't mean you should spend that when moving here. Because if you're like, well, I just want like a 3-bed, 2-bath, you know, 1,500, maybe 2,000 square foot home, you know, I don't need much yard, I just want to be in a suburb. Like, you actually might not need to spend like a crazy amount especially if you're coming from like California, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, areas where the home prices are gonna be a lot higher than they are here. You know, it's really important to make sure you sit down and you get a good budget and game plan in place, so that way when you do come out here, what's leading into my next step, you make sure that you have an idea of what you can afford and what you want to afford, and make sure you are going to areas that you know is within your budget and is flexible in the future, especially with rates going up. Like, you don't want to be going into this blind. Like, you want, the biggest thing I always tell everyone who reaches out is you want to make sure you have the best and most information possible to ensure that you're making the right decision for you and your family. All right, step 3. And that is, you have to find the right area. So once you know, like once you reach out to me, we set you up. We get you set up on like a discovery trip and all that information. I give you a hot sheet of top areas for you to look at when you make the trip. You know your budget, you know what you can afford, you know what you want to afford. Third step is come out here and make a discovery trip. So not everyone can, and that's completely okay. So like the whole purpose of me doing these videos is so you have a good understanding of what areas are like in Orlando, and I look to continue to improve that every single week to make sure I'm bringing you the best and newest information possible, so that way you can make the best move when coming out here. But making sure you, if you can, take a discovery trip. We have a client that just reached out a couple weeks ago, and they're making a discovery trip here this summer. And it's really important to make sure that you once you know what you can afford and where you want, you come out here and you drive around as many areas as possible. Because that's what happened to us. When I came out here, we were driving around. We're like, I think we want to live here. Like we were looking at like St. Cloud. I mentioned this before. And we drive to St. Cloud and we're like, it's a nice area. I love it. But it didn't fit exactly where we wanted to move. And we ended up choosing a different location. So it's really important that you come out here if you have the time or the ability to make a discovery trip, so that way you can be able to travel around and get exactly what you feel like. Because I can do my best to describe what areas are like, do virtual tours. Like there are so many ways we help clients get into homes and make them move out here. But if you have never been here physically yourself, like you're doing yourself a disservice, because no one is wanting to get you out here and move out here to 2 months down the road be like, I completely regret this decision, I should never have made it. So come out here to make a discovery trip. We'll give you a hot sheet of top areas for you to drive around, and then that way you can get some feedback and we can help you decide where you fit with your budget and where you liked and what you didn't like. All right, step 4. Now this can play a lot of different ways, but this whole step, what it encompasses is, do you currently live here? And if you don't, where are you moving from? But both situations, regardless whether you're already living here or you are moving here and relocating, which is what a majority of our clients are doing, is do you have a lease or do you own a home? Because it's all great if you're like, I know where I want to live, I know exactly where I want, where my budget allows me to live, and that's where I want to move. Okay, well, your lease or the home you live in both have to be taken care of. Like, okay, let's touch on lease real quick. So let's say you're renting. Does your landlord allow, when does your lease end? And if it is far in the future than where you want to move, will your landlord allow you to break the lease sooner? And a lot of times people just assume that, no, my landlord won't let me break the lease. Not the case. Like a lot of times, like it's hard when you're dealing with like a management company, right? But if you're dealing with like a mom and pop landlord, it's a lot easier to have this conversation. But a lot of times it's like, hey, like if I give you enough notice, like 30, 60 days, you okay with me giving, ending the lease sooner, but allowing you to be able to show the home and get another renter in place before, so that way when I leave, it's not hurting you. And a lot of times negotiating and working through that can be beneficial. Not always though. So always look at your lease and work with someone and work with your landlord to make sure that situation is taken care of. Especially if you're out of the state, you want to make sure you have everything lined up to make that move. Now, if you own a home, we have partners across the country. And a lot of times what we do is if you don't have a professional in your market that you're currently living to help you out, then we will help you out with someone who knows how to do relocation. Because a lot of times I've seen this happen before, is you sell a home, we get you into a home here, and a lot of times that home that you're living in has to sell to get you into the home that we're closing on. And so many times we won't get, like, if it's the wrong professional is helping you sell that home, like they will sell it and not inform us, and all of a sudden now you're showing up with a moving truck and all this stuff saying, all right, we're here, we're ready to move in, and it's like, holy cow, like we got nothing in place, like we haven't closed on the home, like what is going on? So making sure you have like a working network of professionals selling the home and us helping you here get into a home, so that way you have everything lined up, and it's all about communication. So you want to make sure you have professionals who understand relocation, they've been there, they've done that, so make sure that everything from A to Z is lined up, because it's moving, it's complicated. If you've never done it, it's chaos, and especially if you have kids. Oh Jesus, it is like a complete disaster. So it's something you have to just take day by day, making sure that everyone's communicating, and that's why us, our professionals, are taking as much of that weight off your shoulders as possible and making that move out. Okay, so once you decide like what's going on with your lease, are you selling a home, and you have that plan in place and when you want to move, once you have that idea, we will work with you to discover like what an actual timeline looks like for you moving out here, what the current market looks like, how long it probably will take you to get into a home, what you're looking for, and we'll go through that whole gamut of what that search looks like. We'll set you up for property searches on top of giving you an idea of what we do, to make our value with finding, properties that fit your description and trying to get them to where you're not spending an arm and a leg to get there. But a lot of times, once you have everything that we discussed before in place, it's searching, it's working with it. In this market, obviously, still complicated. Even though rates are going up, everyone's hoping the market softens a little bit, isn't so crazy in the multiple offers. That hasn't fully happened yet. So it's making sure we always give you a realistic timeline. I give you like, hey, look, like this is how long you're probably looking to get into a home, but we're going to be cranking. We're going to be doing our job to make sure we get everything lined up in place and get you into that home. So we understand it's stressful, and my job is to make sure that you're as least stressed as possible when getting into that home. But it's home searching, it's hard, and if you're not here physically, a lot of times like you need to look at multiple homes before getting into something. And then when that comes down to it, is we'll do virtual tours, like we'll help you ask your questions, and like we just go all in on what that home looks like when doing the search. All right, so the home searching, we search, we fight, get you into contract on a home. Awesome. The last step is like, I'm not going to sit here and discuss the escrow process with title. I'm not going to go through all that boring jargon. Like that comes when we actually are signed. We're helping you get into a home. We will discuss all that process. But for this video, the purpose is closing on a home. And it's not just about like the stress that normally comes with a home, inspections, appraisals, all that craziness that happens in that 30 to possibly more or less period. It's all about closing and timelines. So especially if like, we'll give you a good example of what happens with some of our clients is they have to sell a home to get here. So a lot of times you're selling a home right before we close, like a week or so. It always is a little bit different before moving into this one. So you sell a home, everything's packed up, and you're on your way to Orlando while we close on the home you're moving into. We get everything lined up, and it's always stressful because obviously when you come here, the last thing that I want is for you to move here and have to get in like a hotel for a long period of time, things like that. That's why, but when I mentioned before, like making sure you have a professional that's lined up on the front end, if you're selling a home, to make sure that's lined up when you move here. Because the last thing I want is to have you come out here and you're stuck in like a hotel and stuff for weeks, because that is no bueno. It's not okay. Do not want that. So lining up those timelines is always the most stressful part, because you're moving out here with the kiddos, the family. It's crazy. And lining it up so that way the day you arrive, the key, I can just show up and say, here are your keys, and you can enjoy your home, move in, we can laugh, share a beer, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, it's going through all the craziness, and it's celebrating like all that work that you did, making the move out here, get everything lined up. Like, it's, yes, I'm here to help you on that journey, but it is your journey, and it's celebrating in that moment. But making sure those timelines line up is so important, because if one little thing goes wrong and you're not advised to make the right decisions, it can come crumbling down around you, and no one wants that. So it's always important to make sure you do that. So those are my 6 steps, and just a general overview of what everyone goes through when it comes to making the move out here. It gets so much, each step I can go so much more in detail and probably create a whole video on each individual one. But I wanted to give you a general overview of what the steps look like, so that I kind of have an idea of what order you want to look at when making the move out here. So like I said before, I love helping people make real estate decisions when moving out here. I have done so many moves in my lifetime, and especially with kids, and I understand it. It's what I love to do. This number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me, or send an email, whichever works for you. People are always reaching out, and I love it, and it's something that I'm really passionate about, making sure that we help you when making the move out here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you great insight of how you should plan making the move out here, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future, and I will see you in the next video.